Welcome to Young Dialogues, a show that facilitates meaningful conversations and provides a platform to young people to raise their voices and engage in conversation that challenge decision makers. This show features young and spirited critical thinkers, problem solvers, and future thought leaders that have a unique perspective to foster sustainable development, form partnerships, and connect our futures. On today's show, we place the spotlight on representation, the description or portrayal of something or someone in a particular way. It's a word that has become topical with the current geopolitical shift, a word that constructs mainstream media and a tool to shape perspectives and narratives. It points to history books and sources that have framed groups of people and countries in a certain way.
Representation, a weapon used to shape narratives, to dehumanize, to manipulate, and promote a context to attain political goals, a method used to misrepresent. For decades, countries that do not form part of the West have been depicted through the Western gaze. From historical books and sources to mainstream mass media, the Global South has been represented as the destitute, undeveloped, undemocratic, and the East as exotic, weak, and vulnerable. The beauty and knowledge of these places have been left out of our history books. The evolving attitude towards representation is not only changing the way the world sees us, but the way we see ourselves.
To extend on this, we took the Russian student delegation to a township called Alexandra to get a taste of a side that has been represented in media and a side that has been deliberately left out.
Alexandra, a township in the north of Johannesburg, nicknamed Alex, a township that housed many apartheid heroes, one of the oldest townships in South Africa. This township is notorious for its crime rate and poverty. However, a side forgotten is one which houses the working class of the town, one that looks totally different to the other side. We took a walk at this neighborhood to see this side that's not represented by the media. Although there is a rough side to South Africa, there are places that show progressiveness and shed some light to the people.
If you Google search this township, you will only see slums, poverty, famine, and starvation, which is a typical representation of Africa. And although hunger exists in Africa, that's not all there is. There are developed and progressive parts as well. To delve in deeper, we facilitated a discussion amongst the Russian student delegation and the students of University of Johannesburg. And when we speak about this, we have to speak about the geopolitics. And geopolitics refers to politics and international relations and how that is influenced by our geographical factors. But do we dictate those geographical factors? Do we dictate our own geopolitics and how we're represented to the world? And you look at media, which is basically a form of like it's like a mass communication. When you look at those things and you look at who are basically the voices of media, you look at these mainstream media platforms, but do you feel like as Africans, as South Africans, as Russians, you are represented well to the world? So my question that I'm posing to the floor is that, is your country, when you look at it from an international scope, represented in the way that you would like it to be represented?
Is there anything to gain from not allowing or disincentivizing international media in your country, you know? So if we were to say, okay, we're going to make international films incredibly expensive and we're going to make South African films affordable to watch, you know, is there anything to gain from that in terms of representation?
Yeah. And one thing that we noticed, especially in terms of telling our stories, is that first things first, we did not come up with the concept of filmmaking. So as Africans, we are more of storytellers. So most of our history and just everything that has to do with us, it's more of like an oral thing. So it was passed down by telling stories and folklore and, all of that. So the problem that we're facing is that the money isn't coming from Africa most times. It's coming from outside. And we need to make films that are going to cater for the international audience because the money is coming from outside. So if we were to make films for us, just South Africans, it's like a small pool of people. How much money is it going to make? It's not going to make much money. So we had the conversation that we need to have something that's going to be universal. And personally, in my opinion, I think we need to tell African stories first.
I write more on representation, I started writing more on representation. So when I'm focusing more on South African films or any film instead, I'm looking at the national identity. Do we represent our national identity and what constitutes as national identity? So you said I was conducting research for an article that I'm writing, which says national identity, one of the most important things about national identity is language. So we need to make sure what Pinela said, that language plays a crucial role in representation. And secondly, your gender, your race, and whoever makes that particular film doesn't need to be an emic, but it needs to be an insider. Because if a film is made from an outsider's point of view, there'll be misrepresentation. Because they don't understand the culture, they don't understand the religion. You can spend 5 years. I can spend 5 years in Russia, sitting with you guys, but that doesn't mean I know how you guys behave. I know what you guys do. I might know the basic, which I must start writing about. I always say people that when they make films about Russia, number one, you guys have bombs. You must bomb the other country. You guys are violent. So that's the misrepresentation that always occurs, that we must rectify in all the film industry. So if we can tell our own stories and tell our own identity, that beside what you guys see or what people say about us, there's 1, 2, 3, 4 on the grassroots level. I think that would be an interesting one.
I can say that we had the same situation, and now I can happily say that we are going through all this. And maybe it's very important that we are on the same track, and then maybe we have some experience to share. Because of course, I think we had this time where we also were under the like another kind of culture, and we weren't represented well, and our culture wasn't represented well. And now, of course, so there are a lot of sources of information in the world which are still representing Russia in a very strange way. And we do not agree. We do not agree, and we stand for it. And we do believe that our culture and our people are very, very bright, brilliant. And we don't want to compare anything in this case. But still, we want to have our place. And we already have it, but we want to stand for it. And that's why I think we can do it together, because you want the same for you. And to be honest, we want the same for you too, as for us. So that's why I think, we can do this.
I think part of our presentation exercise, we went to Alex yesterday to actually show the Russian students that, yes, there is the poverty side, but we also went to the other side of Alex, where it was the middle class, and there were big houses, and there were cars, there was a tar road. So I think when we were speaking about representation, I was talking about that even with Africa, we're always portrayed as the needy, the needy continent. We're always portrayed as there's nothing that's good that can come out of here. But we have a lot of scholars that have made it outside of Africa and are writing books. We have a lot of scholars that are making it even in our own countries, and we're learning about them. And I think this whole representation exercise was meant to reshape those thoughts. It was meant to show you that, yes, as much as Africa is, this poor continent that's been represented, but we do have nice things. I mean, like, you live, you've experienced Sandton, you've went into the mall, and you didn't see cows or giraffes walking around. And and I think that's the part that also Africans feel like is not being represented to the world, that as much as we have this, but there's also this side, and we are civilized, and we can reshape and dictate to our own civilization.
Russia, a country represented with people as cold as its weather, no sense of humor, and as a war zone. These stereotypes follow the people of Russia everywhere they go. But have you heard about the peace and serenity and beauty of the country? Have you heard about the warmth and welcoming people of the country? Well, this is what representation has emitted.
Representation forms a huge part of how the world sees us, and it is up to us to shift those previously dominating narratives and bring forth our own. Well, that's it from myself and the team for now. This was Young Dialogues, bridging gaps between young people in BRICS countries. From a root level, addressing youth problems by the youth, for the youth, and for our connected futures.